let's look at the final piece of parties of this three-part system, parties as organizations. So parties in the electorate and parties in government are relatively familiar concepts to us, right? We've certainly looked at how parties in the government function, and we sort of intuitively know how parties in the electorate function because we're in the electorate. But what are these party organizations? And the party organizations are sort of the official part of the party, the Democratic National Committee, the Republican National Committee, right? These sort of official organizations that help organize the party. And they typically come out in full force at election time. They exist all the time, but their main function is during elections. They help develop new electoral techniques, and they can help, like currently we've seen the Republican School of Politics and the Democratic Vote Builder database. Historically, of course, the party organizations ran the party presses. And overall, this has made it easier for parties to develop these creative ways to overcome the free rider problem and get supporters to the polls, right? So candidates on their own, if each candidate separately has to get voters to the polls, that's going to be tough. But if the party can organize sort of ways of getting voters to vote rather than to just try to free ride on the other voters, then parties are really useful to candidates. And because each candidate has so much they have to do to run for election, they don't want to have to coordinate this. So they leave it up to the party organization to do so. Now, party organizations also are going to help recruit and train leaders and foster political participation, even teach new citizens democratic habits and practices. So they sort of model this stuff for us, right? We see party conventions, and even in this era when the party conventions aren't really more than just a show, and we're not typically picking our candidates at them anymore, at least not at the national ones. The public still sees them and they see the balloons and the hoopla, and you sort of start to learn about it. And you probably hear pundits talking about things like super delegates and all this different stuff. You start to be exposed to more politics. And you start to think, wow, look at this. This is going to be the person who may be the next president. So you're learning something about that. You probably see them at these conventions picking their running mate, the vice presidential candidate. So we start to become more exposed to politics through the party organizations, through events they put on like conventions, and also events they put on like get out the vote drives. Individual candidates will call supporters and try to get out the vote, but the party will also call supporters, people who they know voted for the party members in the past or donated maybe. Maybe they donated to a past Republican. So the Republican Party will say, hey, we should call them and see if they'll donate again or see if they'll go and vote and remind them that this is tomorrow's the deadline to be registered in your municipality if you want to vote in November, right? So party organizations can really help do that in a way that candidates cannot because they're busy running for election. So this helps knit citizens and leaders together in these sort of coalitions of like-minded people. So party organizations, in some ways, we can consider the part of parties that really has to do with elections. So party in government is the party in the government. Party in the electorate is us, the voters, and then party organizations help coordinate the voters during elections to vote for the people who will ultimately end up the party in government. So these are three separate but ultimately intertwined pieces. Pig, pie, pow. Party in government, party in the electorate, and party organizations.